Hey, what's up, family? Welcome back to yet another episode of the Listen Man Show. Listen, man, we're on episode 20. Can you guys believe it? Thank you for rocking with your boy. 20 episodes in. We've had some good times, some laughs, and we're going to keep it pushing. We're going to keep discussing how life and sports are intertwined and how we can make the fans' voice the loudest voice that's out there. So, another great episode today. Thanks for taking time out of your day to rock with your boy. Means more than you know. Let's go.
Because America have a very serious problem, but our people have a very serious problem. America's problem is self-destruction. You're headed for self-destruction. 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 Well, today's
Man, y'all hear that music, right? Self-destruction. What are we talking about? Well, if you know the song, you know that it was talking about a particular community and how we needed to all come together and work together to stop violence, to stop the craziness. So that was self-destruction if we did it. So now you might be wondering, why in the world is Kev starting to show off with that song? Well, not only is it one of my favorite songs of all time, but it also sends a message for today's show. Listen, I'm your boy Kevin, aka Kevy Kev, aka Big Kev, aka once again, you can call me whatever you want to as long as it sounds cool and it starts with a K. Listen, man, we're on episode 20. So, being that it's somewhat of a milestone, I wanted this episode to be something that really had an impact for us as fans, to really talk about something that has been not only in the news, but also something to get a fan's perspective of that I'm just not hearing. So, we've talked so much about the WNBA recently. I've done some shows on it. If you've been anywhere, seen any commercials or shows, the WNBA has been blowing up, which is a beautiful thing, as I stated before. I'm so happy to see it. But sadly, since the season started just a few weeks ago, we've seen some of the words that the veterans have had towards the rookies actually come into fruition. And sadly, this play right here, this one,
Keep it rolling. Evans, quick drive, couldn't get the roll. More contact in the paint as Reese hits the deck again. And now they're going to review the last sequence.
Well, you see Angel Reese
Right
trying to come in. Oh my goodness. She had her hand around Angel Reese's neck.
area.
And Angel popped her head on the way down.
this play made me feel like I needed to do a show about self-destruction in the WNBA. This hard foul on Angel Reese, it was just too much for me. And I know a lot of people talked about it. I know it made a lot of news, a lot of things on social media. And as fans, isn't it true? Like, we love the dynamic of competition. I know me, I love trash talking. When I played, I wasn't a big starter of it, but if somebody started with me, man, it just was what it was, and I loved it. And I was around some great guys that could talk and play at the same time, because there is a difference. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to talk about the WNBA, this veterans versus rookie, or we could even throw second year players in there as well. This little conflict that seems to be going on, because it started out with words before the season started with Diana Taurasi and others talking about. But now to see this type of foul, now mind you, if you watch the whole clip, that foul was actually the third consecutively. So each trip down, she found herself knocking Angel Reese to the floor. The first two, I could kind of understand, but you could just see it progressing. So fortunately, she did get exited out of the game, because who knows what could have happened if they would have let it keep playing. When you see someone fall like that, anything could have happened. A back could have been hurt, shoulders, the neck especially, and the head. And that could ruin somebody's career. So that kind of stuff to me doesn't have any place in any league, in any sports. So let's talk about it a little bit. And let's see if the Listen Man Show, we as fans, maybe can come up with a solution. I think I have one, and it's something that I haven't heard on shows as of yet. But hopefully you appreciate the unique take, and hopefully it makes some sense. And then I want to hear from you. I want to hear your comments. I want to hear what you think about it. Do you think that I'm right? Do you think that I'm wrong? Do you think that what's happening is good for the WNBA or if it's bad? So let's just start by just highlighting some of the differences between the vets and some of the rookies, okay? Very simple. The WNBA started in 1997. That was the inaugural year. So think of all of the players that have been through the WNBA as stars, champions, as they try to grow and compete with the NBA, right? So think of the Lisa Leslies, the Dawn Staleys, the Cheryl Swoops, the Tamika Catchings, the Cynthia Coopers, my favorite female basketball player of all time. Then you had Tina Thompson, Sue Bird, Shamik Holtzclaw, Candace Parker, Maya Moore. All of these are familiar names and faces. And think of all the amazing things that all of them have done, not including the ones that are still in the league, like Diana Taurasi and some that we talked about on our Women's Wednesday episode, right? They've done amazing things. But since 1997, the league, even though it's grown in some popularity, it's never exploded on the scene like it has this past year, right? So we've seen that they come into the league with no private flights. There's no real revenue split in the WNBA and TV deals with players. And then that doesn't even include the pay difference between the NBA and the WNBA. So this has been this feeling of these veterans that have worked so hard to help the league grow. And now they're seeing all of this attention given to rookies, all of this attention being given. They're hearing people say basically that these players coming in are now going to be the tide that raises all the boats. We're seeing now that they spent the money for private flights. We're seeing the pay begin to go up. And if you're like me, if you notice in these commercials, what are we seeing? We're seeing a lot of the rookies in commercials, whether it's State Farm, whether it's NBA commercials. We're seeing it. So can we understand how the vets feel? They feel like they've paved the way, and now it just seems like the rookies are just kind of feeding off of their hard work and they're not getting the credit for it. I can understand it. Now, on the rookie side, the rookies are feeling that they're just living their life, and now they're being quote unquote hated on. That's a phrase that, having a teenager myself, you hear a lot. Whenever someone doesn't agree with our younger folks, oftentimes they feel that it's hate instead of constructive criticism or whatever. But that's their feelings, and their feelings are theirs. I always say a person's feelings are their own. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're right, but it's their feelings. So I'll let them have it. So there's the rift that we see. So what can fix it? Well, I've been watching a lot of my favorite sports shows, my favorite sports talk, my favorite podcasts. And I've noticed that, again, the fans' perspective is always missing. They look at it from players' perspective. They look at it from a marketing perspective. They look at it from a journalistic perspective. From a fan's perspective, I think there's one key element that's missing, right? Here's how we're going to look at it here on the Listen Man Show. I just want you to think about similarities. I'm a huge history buff. Whether it's sports history, whether it's American history, whatever type of history, I love it. So the first thing that came to my mind as I was digging into some of the issues and some of the statements that were made were two names. Do you remember these guys? Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. You remember them? Remember how their collegiate careers basically were ground zero for how the NBA grew and is what it is today? Well, to me, there were some major similarities. For example, think of Magic and Bird rivalry, right? In college, you had Larry Bird from the Midwest. He plays for a Midwest small college in Indiana State, goes to a pro team that has NBA history in the Boston Celtics, but it's not considered a major market. It's still considered a smaller market. Then you can go to Magic. Magic being from Detroit, a big personality, big smile, brash, ends up going to Michigan State, a school known for basketball, and then ends up playing in Los Angeles his whole career. So a big city. Is it starting to sound a little bit familiar? Think about it. Caitlin Clark from the Midwest, goes to a Midwest college not known for basketball in Iowa. Now she's at Indiana, a Midwest pro team. While the other, Angel's from Baltimore. She goes to LSU. She's got a big personality, a nice smile. She doesn't shy away from the bright lights. She likes to talk. And now she's in a major market in Chicago. Sound familiar? Well, what was the Magic and Bird effect as to why I'm comparing what's happening in the WNBA to what happened in the early 80s? Well, we could say that the Magic and Bird effect actually changed the NBA literally. For example, think of this. Before they came, games in the NBA were on tape delay. The 1980-1981 NBA Finals was even on tape delay. So think of it this way. For us, we can watch NBA games starting at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Pacific time, it could be 4 o'clock. The NBA Finals right now are coming on at, not finals, but the NBA playoffs, Final Four teams, they're starting at 8 o'clock Eastern time, right? So imagine watching these games back then and having to wait until about 11:30 or midnight to even watch the playoff game, let alone an NBA final game. Why? Because back then, the ratings were so low due to the fighting, due to the drug use, the alcohol use, which led to so many things that caused the ratings to be so low that channels like CBS, who had partnerships with the NBA at the time, would tape delay them because shows like Dallas had better ratings. So they would not put NBA games over their regularly scheduled programs. So just think about that. Your NBA, the NBA that you can watch anytime, anywhere, was on tape delay. Magic and Bird come in. Of course, we know the story, right? In college, they meet. For whatever reason, whether you were pro one or against one, they both had the same. Two different people from two different backgrounds clashing in the championship game. Magic ends up winning, but now that collegiate clash caused so much intrigue that when they got drafted, it carried over into the NBA. Larry Bird, averaging 21 points a game, almost 10 assists a game, ends up winning Rookie of the Year. Irritates Magic because Magic felt like he should have been Rookie of the Year. But Magic ends up winning the championship his rookie year when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar goes down. That fires Bird up because he's a competitor. So now not only did he lose the Magic just 1 year ago, now he has to sit and watch Magic win a championship. So this just fuels the fire of competitive nature between the two. It also fueled the fire between people who were either for Larry and for Magic, or against Larry for whatever reason, or against Magic for whatever reason. Now they want to see these two go at it. It begins to change the landscape of the NBA. It even brought hardcore college fans to the NBA. And we all know them. I know, living in North Carolina, there's some people that never watch the NBA. They will watch every college basketball game out. So that affected the NBA. Then Magic signs a 25-year, $25 million lifetime contract with the Lakers. He's getting paid $1 million a year. Now today, that doesn't sound like a lot of money. But back then, that would be like somebody getting paid $50 or $60 million a year right now. It would be a huge deal. So guess what? Magic Johnson got hated on by NBA players who felt that they paved the way. And to see this young man sign this contract irritated him, and he went through his growing spurts. Watch some of those documentaries where Magic and Bird talk about some of these things, and you see how Magic was treated, even by some of his teammates, based on that popularity coming into the league. So here's the question. Can the Reese-Clark effect be similar? I think so, because it's already happened, right? You look at their collegiate careers and how they clashed. They met in the finals last year. Of course, Angel Reese and the LSU Tigers win. Everybody waited this year to see them. They followed their journey all through this year based on things that Clark said and other people said. They wanted to see a rematch. It didn't happen, but it still spilled over, even to the point of being drafted on draft night, seeing how they interacted with one another. Fans were intrigued by this dynamic. So now it transfers over into the WNBA, And now we're seeing the WNBA being able to spend money that they haven't previously been able to spend because of the effect of bringing eyes to the WNBA. There's a reason for this, guys. And I just really want to highlight it because, again, I just don't think people are looking at it from this perspective. Here are some of the things that I want veterans to really understand. And then I'll talk about what I think the rookies should do as well. As my boy K always says, he says, as time goes on, things progress. That's a K statement. He says it to me all the time. Me and him talk about it all the time. So what I mean by that is it's like buying a car that's a 2020 model, right? And then one of your friends or somebody that you know gets a 2025 model, and then you see that it has some features that yours doesn't, and you get upset about it. How could you get upset about something that didn't even exist when you bought your car that somebody has in a newer version? Sounds crazy, right? But in some ways, that's exactly what's happening in the WNBA. A lot of the veterans, of course, you've paved the way, you've worked hard, and you had laid the groundwork. You had to go through so much stuff that some of these rookies don't have to go through. But there were things that they benefited from that you just didn't have when you were coming out. For example, think of how social media has impacted players today, especially in the WNBA, because in your college, younger people tend to be more active on social media. So an Angel Reese, very active on social media. So she begins to develop her followers into the millions based on her personality, sense of style, her play on the court. All of those things creates her own followers. Same thing with Caitlin Clark. She begins to have her own followers too outside of basketball. And now that they get to the WNBA, those followers now are coming to the WNBA. And that goes for more of the rookies, not just those two. Those two tend to be the two that are brought up the most. So think of that. Social media impacts the WNBA. And the younger people tend to know how to use social media in a savvier way than some of us, a little bit older ones. And that's just a fact. That's something that has happened. I call it the Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift effect, right? Taylor Swift, we know who she is, right? We don't have to get into all of that. Think of how many people she brought to the NFL this past year because she started dating Travis Kelce. People who didn't even like football were now watching the NFL because Taylor Swift was at games, because Taylor Swift was supporting her man, and Taylor Swift now is watching football. It's the same effect with Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, Medusa, and some of the others. They have their own followers. Those followers may not even watch basketball. They may like them for other things, but now they're watching basketball because that's where they can see them the most. It has that effect. Something else that was not in place that is now are NIL deals. I think we're forgetting that there were no NIL deals when Diana Taurasi came out, when Candace Parker came out. Those things did not exist. They were still fighting for those things. Now, players are able to get paid. So think of Angel Reese last year. She was the highest female NIL athlete. She made more money last year in 2023 as an NIL player than she will this year as a professional basketball player. So that has a huge impact. That's why we could see them in commercials. That's why we could see them during college. So the more media exposure, the more people see them, the more people are going to want to follow them to the WNBA. So can we see how it drives business? See how that wheel keeps turning, things progress? So vets, this is from your boy Kev. Listen, I understand how you feel. You feel like you paved the way. Maybe you don't feel like the rookies and the younger ones are showing the proper respect to you for what you've done. Your boy is here for you. I respect it. I respect the hustle. I respect the grind. I know the hard work that you've done to help get the WNBA there when nobody was really paying attention. You still were doing it. So respect, props to you, love to you. But plays like we just showed in the beginning of this show, if they keep happening, then you could self-destruct the WNBA because it will turn people off. Because a league built on hate or words that are put into action will turn the casual fan off. And you don't want to do that. Look at what could potentially come out of all of these things. Maybe a longer WNBA season with bigger television deals. You don't know what could come down the pipe, right? TNT lost its NBA deal, but who's to say that they wouldn't go after a WNBA deal? A longer season could mean more money. More television rights could mean more money, which now could allow WNBA players to not have to go overseas after 3 months. Maybe they could stay right here and play just like NBA players do. Could you imagine that league growing to that point? We've already heard other teams like Toronto getting teams. Golden State now getting a WNBA team. These are great things for the WNBA. So vets, you have to be careful that if you love the league so much, the league that you work so hard to build, that if you're not careful, you could tear it down inadvertently by having such actions towards these rookie players. Now, on the flip side, let me talk to my young rooks. Listen, like I said, I love you guys. Love the work that you're putting in. Love how smart and business savvy that you are. Love all of it. But always remember this. Always remember this. You wouldn't be able to do what you're doing if it wasn't for the vets. Because they were playing when there was no social media. They were playing when you had to go through the turnstile. They were playing when their stadiums weren't packed and they still were giving their blood, their sweat, and their tears. So make sure you do your research, do your homework, and listen to who they are and what they've done for you. And always make sure you give them those props. Make sure that you big them up as much as you possibly can. Show them the proper respect, and then that respect will be reciprocated to you for what you're doing as well. At the end of the day, I think everybody wants the WNBA to grow. And if that's the case, then listen, we got to work together, right? Like KRS-One said, today's topic, self-destruction. We can't have it. So we got to stop it. We got to work together. Do your research. Look at the impact that Bird and Magic had for the NBA. Do you think that they got mad when players in the 90s began to get $5 or $10 or $20 million a year? No. They were excited to see the NBA continue to grow. Could you imagine players from the 90s or the early 2000s seeing someone like a Steph Curry or a LeBron James getting paid $40 million a year? Do you think that they're mad at them? No, because they know that they're going to pave it forward for the new guys coming in to be able to push the league along further. At least that's how it should be. Like my boy K says, remember this, as time goes on, things progress. It just is what it is. So what do you guys think? Did we solve the issue? I think so. Looking at history that sometimes repeats itself always is a good way for us to be able to move forward in life. So let's work together. Let's continue to support the WNBA. Let's make sure that as fans, we do what we can to help them get an equal footing in the market. Because the NBA right now makes about $10 billion annually, whereas the WNBA makes about $60 million. So let's see as fans if we can help boost the WNBA. Let's help these players understand that we do appreciate them. And listen, at the end of the day, no more fouls like what we saw. That could end somebody's career. More importantly, it could hurt them. It could end their life potentially. Those are dangerous, dangerous plays that have no business in any sport. So I think we solved it. I think we got it down. Thank you. This is episode 20, self-destruction. Let's not do it. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful for all of the support. So I'll say thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you again like I always do. So we'll see you on the next episode. This is the Listen Man Show. As I always say, keep positive people around you. Stay positive. No matter what's going on right now, it's going to get better. I promise you it will. Leave some comments. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button, follow, subscribe, like, and share. If they like sports, send them my way. I will take good care of them, I promise. But please share and let them know about the Listen Man Show. Help me make the fans' voice the loudest voice that's out there. Have a great week. We'll see you on the next episode. Let's go.